Hi there, I'm excited to be back. Welcome to video number 3. In my first 2 videos, I talked about how auriculotherapy is something that every acupuncturist should know and should use, but is something that's also really underutilized. I talked about how great auriculotherapy is. Why is that? Well, first of all, it's a natural complement to all other forms of care. It's safe, it's effective, it's fast. All the side effects, to the extent that there are any side effects, well, they're positive. And it's easy to perform. It's easy to learn basic auriculotherapy, and even some of the advanced auriculotherapy is something that you can learn very quickly and be very effective with. There's endless applications for auriculotherapy. There's a long list of things that auriculotherapy will treat or will help, that if people were using it more often, they could treat more conditions or get even better results with what they're already treating. And you could treat nearly any system, nearly any part of the body, because auriculotherapy treats both the root and the branch. So you can not only get to the symptoms, the problems that people come to see you for, but you can also get to the underlying causes of those problems. But as I said, auriculotherapy is underutilized. And we talked about a couple of reasons why that is. First of all, we've got people that have limited teaching. In school, sometimes there's a really short course on auriculotherapy. Not much is said. Maybe they learn a few points, and they learn the extent of it is find a point, stick a needle in it, and move on, as if it's just kind of an adjunct rather than a standalone therapy all by itself. And then secondly, we talked about the lack of good tools that do what a good auriculotherapy tool needs to do. One of those tools you have to have is a good chart, and then secondly, a good tool to locate and treat with. If you have those 2 things, then really you just need to know about locating master points and locating and treating condition points. If you can do those 2 things, you can have great results with auriculotherapy. Therefore, any tool that you're going to use has to have some qualifications. Now, the most basic kind of tool, and we talked about tools in my last video, how if you can locate points and you can treat points, you're already off to the races. You're already doing basic auriculotherapy, and that's good. But to do more advanced work, to really get the results, first of all, you have to be able to address polarity. As we mentioned in the last video, you need to know whether a point needs to be tonified or sedated, whether to put energy in or take energy out, or in electrical parlance, does it need positive or negative stimulation? And then we also talked about frequency and how certain areas of the ear, the different zones, require stimulation with different frequencies for best results. And frequency, you'll recall, is just how many pulses per second are delivered to the ear. And so a frequency, for example, of 4.6 hertz, frequency B in the picture, that's going to be 4.6 impulses per second. And so we talked about how there have been over the years, various band-aids and workarounds to try to get these results and be able to treat when you don't have the right tools. And even when you have training and you get trained on how to use great tools only to find out that they're not available, they're not sold in the country where you live, or they're prohibitively expensive. You're back to band-aids and workarounds. And I've been there, and I bet a lot of you have been there as well. Well, in the last video, I told you that throughout the years, as I've searched and as I've looked at so many different auriculotherapy tools, I was always looking for the one that really works. And I found a lot of good basic tools for, basic level auriculotherapy. But I'm really wanting to go to the next level. And I've been looking for a long time to find a tool that would take me there and that would do the advanced work I've always wanted to do. And I mentioned that I've found something that does it, and I'm really excited to tell you about what it is. So here we go. It's called the Point-O Select Digital. And before I tell you all about this tool, I've got to start with a little bit of an embarrassing confession. Fact is, I've owned this tool for years. I've had one that I bought a long time back, and when I took it out and tried to use it, the first thing I found was that the manual was a translation from Chinese. It was almost incomprehensible. And then I looked at the training video, and it was a translation from Chinese. Was so heavily accented that I couldn't even really understand what was being taught. And so I tried to figure out the device. I concluded very quickly that due to the poor training materials, the poor quality of the manual, I said, yeah, this just must be some kind of cheap Chinese something or other. And I put it on the shelf and I forgot about it. And it stayed there for years. And just by chance, a few months ago, I was looking for a good tool, and through a series of events, I ended up taking that down off the shelf, and I started wondering, you know, I never really did look into what this does. I know it does both polarities, at least I was told that, but I never did figure out how to use it. And so I thought, I'm going to give it a try. And so I got curious, and I learned how to use it. I figured it out. It took some time and effort, I'll be honest. And then I tested it because I wanted to know if this was a good quality tool. So I went in my electronics lab, I hooked it up, and I tested the output, the frequency output and the voltage output, to see if it was in fact accurate. And I found out it was beautifully accurate, and in fact, a highly capable tool that does everything I need. And the problem all along was the training. It wasn't the tool. And so here I've been looking around like a fool for years to find a great tool for auriculotherapy, and it was on my shelf the whole time, hidden behind a mask of bad training materials. Well, what I found is the Point of Select Digital, it's full-featured. It does everything I need it to do. It's capable. It can do treatment of auricular points, body points. It has all the right settings and all the right power to accomplish anything when it comes to electric stim. It's surprisingly easy to use. The problem is bad training materials. With good training materials, it's not hard at all, and it's highly effective. We've been doing some before and after tests with AccuGraph, and I've been absolutely amazed at the changes that we're seeing in graphs, doing nothing but treating the ear with auriculotherapy points using the Point of Select Digital. Well, some other things to know when we get more specific about it. First of all, it's got bipolar, point detection, and automatically selects the right treatment. And when I say bipolar, what I mean is it'll tonify, it'll sedate, it'll do positive and negative automatically. Based on the point it detects, it knows what to treat. If it finds a point that's low, it knows to tonify. Finds a point that's high, it knows to sedate. It has adjustable sensitivity. It can be set for ear and body point sensitivity, and it's got a full set of frequencies, pre-programmed. So when I want to treat the ear and I want to use the Nogier frequencies, for example, they're already in there, ready to go. And it's gentle enough to use on an ear, powerful enough to use on the body. So I want to go into a couple of the most important features right now to tell you why I absolutely fell in love with this device. So let's start by looking at polarity. Positive or negative, tonifying or sedating. I mentioned how it will automatically choose and detect, and that's because of the advanced way the probe is built. If we take a look over here, when you take a look at this probe, what you can see is that it has an outer ring that moves in and out, and it's got an inner tip, and both of those are conductors. And based on checking the skin around a point and the actual point, it can tell whether that point needs to be tonified or needs to be sedated. It's absolutely brilliant the way that's set up, and it works so well when you're scanning on the ear. You scan along, and in real time, as you're scanning, it's comparing each point with the skin around the point so that it can determine the polarity and determine the right treatment. Absolutely brilliant. Here's a video that I put together as part of the training materials that I made that tells you or demonstrates a little bit how that works. I'll show you how you can scan, you can choose a polarity or set it for automatic. But in the video, it uses the terms gold and silver because traditionally gold needles are used to tonify, silver needles are used to sedate in auriculotherapy. And so when it finds a point that it calls a gold point, that means tonification. Silver point means sedation. And so let's take a look at that training and see how that works. In automatic measurement mode, when it's set for gold or tonification points, then scanning will only turn up points that need tonification. You'll still have the bars, you'll still have the light on the probe, and when you find a point, you'll hear a constant tone. In silver mode, it works in exactly the same way, but it only finds points that need sedation. And when you find an active point, rather than hearing a constant tone, you'll hear a tone that's pulsed. All right, the next thing I want to tell you about the Point Select Digital is how it can do frequencies. When you look at the chart, you can see the Nogier frequencies and the frequency zones. And the Point Select Digital has all of those already programmed in. And so you literally can take the ear, you can scan each area. So for example, I could set the Point Select for frequency B, 4.6 hertz. I could scan this area of the concha, and as I'm doing that, any active points I find, I treat. It's already giving them the right frequency, and when I'm done with that area, with one click, I move to the next frequency and I scan the next area. So you can very quickly process the whole ear, treat every point with the right frequency, and move on. Here's a video showing how that works. Because I'm set for frequency B, I'm ready to scan in the area of the ear called the concha. So I can scan in the area, locate and treat any active points. And then when I've finished scanning that area and I want to change frequencies, I simply press and hold the yellow treatment button, move up one frequency to frequency C. This frequency is used for the superior area of the ear, the triangular fossa and the superior helix. And again, I can scan, look for active points, and the parameter is already set. Press the button to treat. Okay, and one of the other things that I mentioned when talking about really good auriculotherapy tools is that you have to have the right size and shape and sensitivity so that you can actually use the thing on the ear. I talked about signing your name, and if you're using a big old fat heavy magic marker, you're not going to be able to have very good handwriting or very fine or precise control. That's another thing I love about the Point Select Digital. This is a very comfortable probe to hold in your hand, and it's designed so that you can hold it in a position where you can access the features of it and still have good control over this tip. Secondly, it's designed for right or left-handed because the lights that tell you what you're doing appear on both sides. So either way, no matter how you hold it, it's very comfortable. It's actually very lightweight so that when you're holding it, it moves very freely and you have precise control. And the cable is highly flexible, so you don't have cable drag when you're trying to do the precision work on the ear. So it's the right size and shape. You can wear the base unit. It's actually got a pocket clip, and you can just put it on your belt or clip it to your pocket. And you don't even have to look at the base unit because it's got audio feedback. So while you're using it, you can do everything you need. It's comfortable, it's easy to use, it's the right size, shape, and sensitivity for auriculotherapy work. It's convenient because you can use it hands-free, and you can scan and treat without having to change functions on the device. When you're scanning the device or scanning the ear, you scan through, you locate, and when you're ready to treat, you just push the button. Push the button to treat. When you're done treating, you let go, and you're scanning again, treat, scan, treat. You don't have to change anything on the unit itself. Well, that's just a quick overview. Here's a couple of other things you need to know about this device, and this is really important. The Point Select Digital is FDA-cleared, which means that it is safe and it's legal to sell it in the United States. This is really important because there's a lot of devices out there. Like I covered in my last video, I had a whole table full of them. Most of them are not FDA cleared. Therefore, they shouldn't be used in patient care. They're not legal to import. You potentially have legal problems and liability issues when you use them. So you need to, whatever device you use, you need to make sure that you're using something that's been cleared so that you can practice with confidence and not have any liability issues to worry about. Well, here's the story. When I found out that this device was FDA cleared, that it would do everything I wanted, it was like the answer to my prayers, and so I said, you know, I want to sell this device. I want to have it available to others. And that brings up the other point. If you want to import medical devices into the United States, you actually have to register with the FDA as a medical device importer. This costs thousands of dollars. You have to have a site registration. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not trivial to do. But you know what? I did it. I paid the money. Maybe I took a little bit of a gamble, but I thought it was worth it to have this device available. So now not only do we have a device that can legally be marketed in the United States, but it's being legally imported, going through the proper channels, making sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted, so there's never any issue. We're working directly with the manufacturer of the device, so there's no middleman and no chance that we're not getting exactly what we want to get. Why did I take such a gamble? Why did I spend the thousands of dollars and the months of work that it took to get this all set up? The bottom line, because I saw the value. It is so worth it to have a device that will do what I need, that I went ahead and paid the fee, and then I got to work, me and my staff got to work addressing what is the most difficult problem with this. Remember what I said before? The biggest issue? Poor training. We went top to bottom, started over, and created all new training. That includes video training, 2 video trainings as a matter of fact, that go through every feature, every process in the device, and we demonstrate exactly how to use it. And we also created a new website. We redid the manual in English, proper English, so that everything is readable, understandable, and accessible for you to use. And we created a lot of bonus material to go with the Point-O-Select Digital, because in my opinion, this is the fastest way to get more acupuncturists getting better results with auriculotherapy. So we invested a lot of time and effort, and I am so pleased we did, because I am excited about the results we're already seeing people get with this device. Now I want to say a word about accuracy. There are some concerns, and I've heard some concerns expressed about accuracy and about whether this device is the real thing, is it coming out of China. I made a whole video about this, and I can't wait to show you the results because they are amazing. But here's a quick preview. Yes, it's accurate. I have tested, and I have the proof, and I'm going to show you that. And secondly, it's reliable. Again, it's reliable to a degree that I didn't even think possible when I tested it. I was amazed. And as I mentioned before, it's full-featured. It's got it all. It's everything you need. When you have the Point-O-Select Digital, you get more reliable detection. And this is important because you can do the scan and treat technique, where you can literally scan the ear, find whatever is active, treat it, and move on. Even if you don't have a specific set of symptoms that you're treating, you can simply scan for active points and treat them for a whole body tune-up. It's incredible the way you can do that, and it's fast. More effective treatment, the right polarity, the right frequency. We talked about that. In the end, it gives you even better results. So let's talk a little bit more about what you get with the Point-O-Select Digital. We've got a very special package that we've put together for a limited time to introduce or to reintroduce the Point-O-Select Digital to the US market, because it's not been widely available. It's been FDA cleared, but it's not been widely available, and we want it to be widely available. So we're trying to make a big splash, and we've given you lots and lots of value. Here's what you get. First of all, you get the Point-O-Select Digital, and notice that the packaging isn't in Chinese anymore. I'm pretty proud of that. Including the all-new English language training manual and our exclusive Point-O-Select Digital video trainings, 2 of them, where we walk through everything and show you exactly how to use it to get great results. Let's talk about what you're really getting. The only other device I know of on the market out there that's FDA cleared that will do what this does is over $4,500. In fact, last I checked, I think it was over $5,000, but it's also off the market now. And it's the size of a suitcase. You can't even get it anymore. And when you could get it, it was selling regularly at nearly $5,000. That's the value that you're getting. And practitioners willingly paid it because of the results they were getting. So to get that kind of value at this kind of price is 90% off. It'll do all the same things and get you all the same results. Isn't technology wonderful? I think that's amazing. That's the real value, the results that you're going to get when you have the right frequencies, the right polarities, the ability to locate the points and treat them this effectively, and that is the real value. It's a tremendous deal. So go ahead and click that order button, and while you're looking at that, I do want to tell you there's one more thing that we're going to include at no charge. We've got a bonus, something I'm really proud of that we made. It's this right here. It's just a simple chart, not that complex, but wow, is it valuable. Because when you have a patient sitting there and you have a chart, you can tell immediately what zones of the ear and what frequencies to use. So you can just go treat, 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 frequency, 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 just like that. And when you're done with the right ear, guess what? We got the left ear on the other side. So this is the kind of tool that you wouldn't think would make a difference, and it makes all the difference. We've been using these like crazy. Our practitioners have been using them, absolutely loving them. That's included in the package at no extra charge as well. And don't forget, watch for my next video where we're going to talk about accuracy, reliability, and the science behind what goes into making one of these.